Hey everybody, welcome back to Worth Fighting For, where we cover HBO's The Last of Us. I'm Brian Marr, and I'm joined, as always, by Tamur Top. Tamur, for the last time this season, how you doing?
Doing well. A little sad that it's ending, but all good things must come to an end, and this season was definitely very good. I think um, overall, very close to the game, and yeah, I mean, if I can just speak very broadly, it's like, could we really have asked for more? Like, I think they just did such an amazing job with this series. That's not to say we don't have some notes for them, but I think it was
Yeah. So Craig and
fantastic.
Neil, we got notes for you. So just sit back. It was great. Don't get us wrong. Amazing job, but some stuff to clean up in season two. No, it was obviously the greatest video game adaptation of all time.
Yeah,
As far as this is covering the first game, adapting the first game. Who knows how the rest of the adaptation will go? I assume well, but I just for this season standalone, this was an amazing adaptation of the really great game and really beloved game, and I think it was just such a hit with people who didn't play the game. So it's really fun to share this story with my parents because how my dad not gonna play The Last of Us.
right.
Um, but now at least I can talk to him about it and be like, "Oh yeah, what did you think of this new episode of it?" Which is has been really great.
Yeah, and to me, like the ending was is really when the game first came out and I beat it. The ending was like that thing that like solidified it to me as like, oh, this is like an incredible piece of art. In any medium. I feel like video games can be here or there with storytelling. This one's definitely on the end of like very high level, like smart, well written, well acted. It's like very highly regarded game. And the ending to me just like hit that home. Is like the home run, and yeah, now I finally get to like talk about that with people because it's like you know I know a lot of people
Yeah,
who aren't gamers, and now I can actually be like, "What do you think? Did Joel make the right decision?"
I know. Yeah, welcome to the debate, everybody who didn't
Mm-hmm.
play the game. It's treacherous in these streets, as treacherous as the streets of Kansas City, if you will, in terms of this debate. But yeah, I definitely agree. This is probably the go-to example people use. Uh, is video are video games art? Yes, I think so. I mean, I don't think there's any debate. But this is the easy example you can give to be like, look at this story and how moving it is.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, the other one I always think of is the first season of Telltale's The Walking Dead, which is kind
Mm-hmm.
of similar. Uh,
Right.
but also just really great. And yeah, this was fun. A fun 9 weeks, and a lot of very cool additions from the cold opens, and then for the first two episodes, and now the cold open in this episode, where we get
Mm-hmm.
Ellie, the original Ellie, Ashley Johnson playing Ellie's mom, Anna. What did you think of this scene in addition and explanation as to why Ellie was immune?
I mean, I thought this was just like so awesome, and so I'm just trying to think about it like chronologically where it takes place. So it's basically like 6 years after the outbreak ish, because
Yeah,
assuming
around that.
Ellie's 14. She's grown up in this world. So it's, I don't know, it's just like, it's so cool to me. I think Ashley Johnson is like perfectly cast. It's really this like handing down of the torch in that moment where she's like looking at the baby, and it's like, her performance is so nuanced. She's like obviously scared. Like, is my child gonna turn? I'm obviously gonna turn, so I'm not gonna be able to like raise this child. But she's also like elated. She just had a baby girl, and yeah, and it's just like it's so incredible to see that like actually come to life. Like because we never knew Ellie's parents playing the games. We just Joel became her like sort of father figure. But now we actually see like she did have a mother who was presumably part of the Fireflies with Marlene, or maybe this was like kind of pre Fireflies or like early days. Um, but and it also gives Marlene a much stronger, I think, story, and she's sort of humanized in the fact that she really did. Uh, she was there when Ellie was literally born, and she actually cares about her, and that makes her decision, which we will discuss as we discuss what happens later in the episode. That makes her decision all the more hard, and it kind of like balances out Joel's decision in a scary way.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting because not only with Marlene's decision, but with Anna's decision to lie. She
Mm.
didn't cut the umbilical cord before she got bit, and she lied to protect Ellie. And then Joel, at the end of this episode, killed everyone and lied to protect Ellie. I thought it was a
Mm-hmm.
very interesting way to like start the episode and close the episode, where like here are two people who love Ellie, doing whatever they can to keep Ellie safe. And if that means murdering a bunch of people, they'll do that. If that means lying and potentially putting other people at risk, they'll do that. So it's very interesting there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it really like it just speaks to the main theme, which I think this whole entire season was trying to convey, which is that like love will make you do crazy things and even put others in danger if you really like love someone. And that's we've seen it through like Henry. We've seen it through like basically every single character that we've seen in like each episode. And Yeah, no, it was a really great way to like bookend this episode. Yeah, and it also like Marlene and Ellie's mother's relationship really kind of mirrors Ellie and Riley's relationship. I think in a lot of ways too. Like even that moment of just like, oh, I know you're like gonna die soon, but like I'll be here in like your last moments, and like unfortunately like Marlene has to kill Riley's mother. Ellie's mother, and Ellie has to kill Riley. It's just this like it's a tragic thing, but it's like you gotta like look out for the ones that you love, and yeah, it was oh man, I'm so glad that we got like this scene out of it.
Yeah, and I'm always happy to see these prolific video game actors get a chance to like really flex their muscles on TV shows because they're really good. All of the, we even got Laura Bailey in a cameo later in this
Mm-hmm.
episode. Maybe she'll get to do more. She didn't die, so that's
Yeah,
positive. But I thought all three of the characters who showed up in this did a great job in this season. I think it's really cool of them to have included them.
yeah, oh, 100%. I mean, we said right from the get go, like Marlene is perfectly cast, Merle
Oh
Dandridge.
right, all four. I forgot. Like
Yeah,
she's also Marlene in the game.
yep,
She's so
exactly.
good. She was so fucking good.
Yeah, no, she was
Yeah,
literally
I get why they were
perfect.
like, who are we gonna get for Marlene? We're just gonna cast her again.
Yeah, yeah, it's like oh the age lines up like yeah it's like but and then of course having got Ashley Johnson I because I think there was like some word on the internet like this may be what it is, and then seeing it actually like come to life. I mean it was just yeah it was so amazing, and like hearing her voice excuse me, like hearing her voice was just yeah you just can't help but like feel Ellie's presence in that moment. Yeah.
It is just so funny, and I said this to Jenny while we were watching. It's just like she uses her own voice for Ellie's voice.
Yeah.
So like hearing her in the show The Last of Us was really like kind of jarring. It's like
Yeah.
it's Ellie. Like my brain's like that's
Totally.
Ellie.
Yeah.
It's like no, it's not Ellie in this context.
Yeah.
That's
No,
even like when I
100%.
watch Critical Role clips and stuff. I'm like that's Ellie.
Yeah. Almost she's like so similar to Ellie. Like if you watch Critical Role, if you've seen like interviews, like Ashley Johnson like literally is Ellie. So it's like, yeah, it was just yeah, but yeah, and then of course we have that like that that cut that's kind of like it actually reminded me of like Game of Thrones when you have like Jon Snow's birth where it's like the baby's face cut to like a match cut to Jon Snow present day, and they do that here with Ellie as a baby, and then Ellie basically it seems like almost a month or like there's been some time since we've last seen her because they were in this snowy environment, and now it seems like maybe spring. Um, but you just see like that like horror on her face, like she's been
Yeah,
traumatized by this. Yeah.
it's a far cry from Ellie, who like wouldn't stop talking and making jokes and reading stuff, and
Hmm.
Joel's doing literally anything he can to try to like help and like make her smile, and it's just like really sweet that he, is going to he's like doing that, but at the same time it's like so sad to see the effect that what happened had on Ellie.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean we get this in the video game as well. Although I feel like in the video game there's less, maybe a little bit less focus on the trauma because you're playing as Joel and you're kind of just walking, and she's still walking in the environment with you, and it's definitely a shift in like mood and just kind of yeah the overall vibe is off. But yeah, like here it just I don't know something about I think it's I mean a lot of it's owed to like Bella Ramsey and her their performance. It's really you can tell she they've just been like changed by this, and yeah, and then of course Pedro Pascal is like big time dad vibes, like trying to like cheer her up, but he must know like he didn't see what happened, but like he must know like some fucked up shit happened.
I mean, he knows the world, he knows what's out
Yeah.
there, and he wasn't able to protect her, so like he probably feels guilty on top of it, and you know he couldn't help her then, so he's trying to help her now, and it's just like what can really be done to help that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did get it finally. Uh, the draft. It's been foreshadowed all season. In the background, I've been keeping track of any draft, stuffed animals or drawings or anything. And to my, and I think many other people's surprise, the draft was real. Um,
Yeah.
it didn't look real, but now I'm like, am I just like brain broken? Like, do I think CGI things look real and real things look fake now?
Well, so I
But
think this is so I thought it looked really fake too, but I think yeah, what I'm seeing online is that it was real, but I think what makes it look fake is that it was like on a green screen or like a blue screen or something. So like the edges around it are maybe soft or I don't know. It was like
yeah, okay, so it did look fake,
it looked
right? Okay,
strange.
yeah.
Yeah, to
I
me.
don't know. Maybe they cleaned it up with CGI, but it made it like, and of course when I was watching it, I was like, well, yeah, of course it's fake. Like they didn't get a real
Right.
draft, but then they did. So I was like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's
Yeah,
the
but
lighting is different in the two shots. I
right.
don't know.
I don't know.
It
Yeah, I
was
mean,
cool. It was a really cool scene to see brought to life.
oh yeah, it was awesome. And like I mean, everything about that scene was like literally exactly like the game. The background. I mean, you see like that like scoreboard from the team that whatever like or whatever from like the football field, and it's like that's just like one little detail that's like when I saw that I was like, oh yeah, that was like literally in the shot. This is like frame per frame. They just literally lifted it and made it look realistic for like television,
Yeah. Well,
which
I
I
guess if
really
they're
respect.
making it all CGI, like the environment CGI, they're like, well, we may as well just make it the video game, right?
Yeah, 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 exactly. But I also do want to go back to the moment where like uh, Joel, he's like trying to navigate this building, and he asks Ellie to like, to go. He's gonna lift her up and take the ladder down and everything. And this is like something we've been talking about a lot throughout the entire season. Is like, do you include these moments of basically I would call them like game moments. It's like stuff that you wouldn't want to see on TV because when you're playing a video game, you need to be interacting with the environment and interacting with the characters, and it doesn't necessarily translate to the screen. But I think this scene actually kind of like argues in favor of those kind of scenes, like staying in the show. At least like maybe a few more. I think they could have sprinkled a few more of those because they really do feel like bonding moments. And this one in particular, I mean, this is like it's post, like we discussed, Ellie's like traumatized and she's not fully present. I think this scene actually, even though it's strong and I liked it a lot, it could have actually been stronger if they balanced it out with previous scenes, scenes in previous episodes where they were doing slightly mundane post-apocalyptic stuff to like get through buildings, or like, Ellie can't swim, so she's like got to get on the pallets and stuff. I actually like seeing this scene made me feel like they could have just had more of these throughout the whole season.
Yeah, and so we talked about it a little bit in the last episode, but I want to touch on it again because this is like, I mean, listen, the Last of Us fandom, fucking crazy people, us included, I'm sure, but like,
Yeah.
it's like very difficult to criticize. Like, even if you're like, I love The Last of Us, but if you criticize something, people just like ignore that you said you love it and just like, so you hate it. You hate everything
Right.
about it. Um, no, but yeah, maybe some more of that, and maybe some more infected. Maybe you can combine it. Like
Yeah.
you have to sneak around infected and work together as a team. I do. It's hard because I feel like people are very much like, oh, you just want it to be like The Walking Dead, where there's zombies all the time, and like, dialogue is punctuated between like zombies getting their heads bashed in. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I don't want that, but I do want more infected so that I'm like, oh, there's more of a threat. I would have
Yeah.
loved more like building off of the network stuff that they set up in the first episode. I thought that was gonna come back at
Mm-hmm.
some point, but
Right.
it
That
never
would have been
did.
sick. Yeah.
You never see it again. Um, and I don't think you have to have them killing infected or have like anything too
Mm.
gruesome. You can, like you said, we can have them sneaking around them and helping each other out that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been a cool scene because it would have been like, okay, the infected are still like a big threat, but they're bonding and getting around it together. So I don't know. I don't know, Tamor. Am I wrong in saying I wish that there were more infected in the Last of Us adaptation?
Yeah, you clearly hate the whole franchise, and you just need to go die because you're.
Yeah,
No,
unfortunately,
no.
unfortunately, it is true. I do hate it all. Every
But
minute I spend playing and watching it is painful.
yeah, it's just internet logic right there. But no, I agree completely. I mean, we only get one infected in this whole episode, and it's in the flashback with Ellie's mother. Um, Joel and Ellie, presumably off camera, are like going through these buildings and fighting off infected because, like, Marlene even says she like was with like whatever, like five other men, like literally guards, and they all died like getting there, and she just barely made it by. And then like Joel and Ellie kind of made it there like pretty easily. Yes, they ran into some like
Yeah,
psychos and stuff.
there are cannibals, but you know, mostly it was pretty all right.
Yeah.
Just a lot of backpacking through the
Mm-hmm.
woods, and everyone we met pretty much died, but not us. We were fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that is
not nearly
crazy
enough.
that she like was like, oh my god, this was such a harrowing journey. How did you make it? And it's like, well, maybe it was bad, but it was wasn't the worst.
Yeah, no, there could have been way more infected. I mean, I think the one thing that was missing from this episode, which, I think they easily could have spent another 20 minutes. They could have extended this episode another 20 minutes and nobody would have complained because when we were just talking about it earlier, this episode was like less than 50 minutes long. And, if you take out the intro, you really only have like a half an hour with Joel and Ellie. But I think what they were missing really was that like that epic ending that you have in the game where you have to sneak through. It's like a tunnel. I think it's like maybe an underpass,
Yeah,
sort of like.
an underground tunnel where cars are, and
Hmm.
I did not spend hours dying over and over in that tunnel for it to not even be depicted on the
Yeah.
show. Now there was a tunnel, and it was like 10 feet long before the
Right.
camp, and I was like, "Is this the tunnel?" Like
Yeah, I
what?
thought that too. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, okay, they're coming out of a tunnel. I assumed that was the tunnel, but like, there's nothing really in there. But um, yeah, it's like I think they could have like maybe not even in this episode, but just in previous episodes, really stress the fact that the infected are the biggest threat, and that's why Ellie needs to do this, and that's why she would want to do this. I guess the way they defend it is, that's her best friend slash like, first crush died um, by the infected, so she knows the horrors of it, and she would want to prevent that, and perhaps even give her own life, even though they don't directly tell her that. Um, but I don't think that's, as a viewer, I don't think that's enough to like for you to, because I mean, I don't know. Yeah, they could have easily had more of those scenes. I think.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was budgetary, like the first season of Game of Thrones, they did not give them a big budget, and it made them cut out some pretty major parts of the first book.
Hmm.
Some battles, like very famously,
Right.
Tyrion gets knocked out at the beginning of a battle in that season. That's like very like heavily depicted in the book,
Right.
because he doesn't have the budget to make it happen. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering if maybe that was like kind of the thing. Even though I think this was a very expensive season, I've heard it was like over $100 million as it was.
Hmm.
Maybe HBO didn't want to give them 150 million, more. But then you
Hmm.
contrast it with like the later seasons of Game of Thrones, where it was pretty much, I feel like, a blank check, like just make the
Right.
sickest episodes you can.
Yeah.
Um, and
Oh,
then House
100%.
of the Dragon season one, where it was like, yeah, there's like 5 or 6 dragons on screen. Like,
Right.
just fucking do whatever you need to do and make
Battles
this
and everything.
cool. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think next season we will get more of everything, including infected.
I mean, hopefully. Yeah. Yeah. I really do hope so. And I think, knowing the second game, there's a lot more room for that. Like, there are a lot more weird cults and also weird infected, and they play around with, I guess we got like we got runners, we got clickers, and we got like we got one bloater in this season. But in the second game, you get a little bit more variation too, and there's a lot of like cool stuff, which obviously I won't spoil. But yeah, anyway, I totally agree, and I wish they had included more for sure.
Yeah, and I think they will, and they got the heart of the story, which is really what matters. But
Hmm.
call me dumb, but I like zombie stuff, and I found the infected in the show terrifying, and I
Hmm.
want more of this particular breed of zombie because they are so freaky.
Oh yeah,
I mean, the
yeah,
one in this episode was like fucking crawling on all fours, like
yeah,
to Anna. Like, oh my god, this is
yeah.
horrifying.
That stunt performer just like, oh my god, fully commit, and it was like terrifying. Because eventually it was like a pregnant woman. How the hell is she gonna like protect herself from this fucking
Yeah, and like
rabid infected
earlier,
person?
the little clicker girl that's like contorting herself in like all these weird ways, just
Right.
trying to get at Ellie, like terrifying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, and even just you think back to like episode two where the zombie kisses Tess. It was just so weird, and I think I wanted also more of that. Like, what explains that, and how do you explore that through Joel and Ellie's adventure and their travels? Like, what do they come across that tells you more about how the infected are kind of like adapting to the planet and to like just humanity. Like, how are they like? What tactics are the infected using to like basically overrun humanity? But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, it was just very like it was a very like this episode was very close to the games, and but there was one scene, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this was not in the games where like Joel kind of sits down with Ellie and he talks about how like
Yeah, this
he
was
thought about
TV
ending his life.
exclusive. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I thought that was an interesting choice. It's just something to they added in, I think, to kind of like bring the characters together after her like she's traumatized and she's like in her head and he's kind of like pointing out to her that like this is a fucked world but like it's worth fighting for.
Yeah, and yeah, call out worth fighting for. But I think it was very sweet that he like didn't mince words. He literally was like, yeah, like I kind of died when Sarah died, and like being with you and bringing you through this has like brought me back to life in a way, you
Yeah,
know. And I
yeah,
thought that was great. I mean, it really sets up well what he does a little bit later
right,
because like to lose Sarah almost ended him, and he could not have gone through that again. And
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, he didn't care what stood in his way or who stood in his way there.
yeah, yeah. And I think it was a good addition, just a good like moment to bring them even closer together. Just kind of because you get like hard man Joel, and then you get like silly-ish Joel when he's like, "Hey, Chef Boyardee," and like like, "Hey, I've warmed up to you," and I'll be like, dad vibes. Um, but then you get this moment with just more like genuine, like, "Hey, like, listen, the world is really tough." Like, and he's like kind of saying like, "I get it." The one line that I actually didn't like though was when he's like, well, she's like, "Oh, what kept you going?" Is something like, "Oh, time heals all wounds," and he was like, "It wasn't time that did it." That line to me was just read like so like melodramatically. I was just like, this is like straight out of like a soap opera or something. But um, yeah, like
Yeah,
I don't
and
know. That line bugged me.
and then they get their guard down and get flashbanged
Yeah.
right after this heartfelt scene,
Right.
which is like it's super crazy in the game because you like fall into water and you're like being rushed away and you like almost drown and Ellie can't
Right.
swim and then you like land on the ground and you're like holy shit Ellie's alive, I'm alive, and then they get knocked out by the fireflies, and I
Right.
guess this kind of like captured the vibe a little bit, but lower budget than
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so we get Marlene again finally after a while. Like you said, she was like, "How did you do this?" Like, I was a little surprised she didn't call out that Tess is not there. Um,
Mm.
you would think like she would have at least mentioned, like oh,
Yeah.
what happened to Tess? But
Yeah. I think that would have been interesting because like so every time that Tess is mentioned, like previous to this, I mean throughout like really the whole season after her death, like Joel really does skirt it. Like he lies to Tommy about it, and I think it would have been interesting to actually to mention her here and even for him to maybe I'm sure he hasn't come fully to terms with it. He's clearly like still grieving, but I think the fact that he's become so close to Ellie maybe would give him some like comfort and maybe he would even admit to Marlene like that Tess is dead. Um, I don't know. Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, Bill in his note like mentions Tess, like Tommy mentions
Hmm.
Tess, like clearly Joel and Tess are like a pair in everyone's
Yeah.
mind. Like they go together. So it was surprising to me that we didn't get one last call out here.
Hmm.
Um, all right, so I don't want to debate the whole decision. We can just kind of go through it. Like
Sure.
it's not no one's really good in this situation. The Fireflies didn't give Ellie a choice.
Hmm.
Um, Even though Marlene's like, oh, she would have wanted it. So you don't know that. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't give a choice. And then Joel didn't give Ellie a choice either with his actions. So I think the bigger thing is everyone can understand why Joel did it, right? Like after this episode and
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, what do you think of the adaptation of the massacre? What we've been building up to all season. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how Joe did it without a flamethrower. Quite frankly, I wasn't able to do it without the flamethrower when I played.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. Yeah. 'Cause, I mean, it was pretty funny to me that like the whole time he's like, he's going through these guys and he's like picking up new guns, which is such like a video game thing to do. It's like, oh, I'm out of ammo. I gotta like pick up this one. I'm out of ammo again. Like, so I thought that was like, it was realistic for sure, but it was also just very funny to me. Um, in terms of like his decision and just the brutal, frankly, massacre that he goes on, is it like justified? I mean, personally, I think no, it's not. I don't think he made the right decision, but I think from a storytelling point of view, it makes total sense. It makes for a really really compelling and interesting ending. It's like it's really like I said earlier. It's one of the most like memorable endings in video games, and it really sticks with you. And I hope it does for people watching the show who haven't played the game. And yeah, but yeah, I am curious to hear what you think.
yeah, so I've never cared about the like, is this the right thing to do or is it the wrong thing to do? Because ultimately, in the game, you don't have a choice either way.
Yeah.
Like you do it no matter what. So, and I've always kind of like taken it like there was never a different outcome for Joel. He was
Right.
never not going to do this. Like
Mm-hmm.
after everything he's been through and everything he went through with Ellie just to get her there, like Joel was not leaving that hospital under any circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think that's totally true. And I mean, you just see his lifetime experience surviving this whole time.
Yeah.
Surviving, and he kills these people like with no issue. I mean, he literally is like walking down the hall like so comfortably, and like he'll hear
Mm.
something, he shoots him, keeps going. It's like
Yep.
disturbing, really. How
Yeah. Because it's also like, what would you have done? It's like, I would have probably died in like the first day of the apocalypse. What do you mean? I don't have it
right,
in me to get to this position.
right,
Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
so irrelevant what I would have done because
right,
I would have not been here.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, another thing worth pointing out is like in the game when the doctor is trying to stop you and he picks up the scalpel. There's that moment of like, should I shoot him? You have the option as the player to kind of hold on the moment. In the show, there's no hesitation from Joel. He's just like, this guy's in my way. Now that you picked up a scalpel, like, you got to die, unfortunately. The other nurses aren't gonna try to fight him or stop him. They're just gonna let Ellie go, for the sake of their own lives. But like, there's literally no hesitation, which is completely fitting with the character.
Yeah. And obviously, smartest Firefly is the person who was running away down the hall. He didn't die.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's the person I actually related to most in this scene. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, everyone, you have fun trying to kill the lunatic with the gun. I'm fucking out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because like you have to wonder if like a lot of these people had. I think they were probably aware of Joel and like his history and just how fucking tough he was. He clearly knew Marlene and had worked with her in the past, so it's like, yeah, yeah. No, that guy was the smartest. That guy
Yeah.
just ran away.
Yeah. And Joe didn't shoot them. Joe was like, all right, well, fine. Like, if you're running, I'm not going to hunt you down. I'm
Mm-hmm.
strictly trying to get to Ellie here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But he was brutal in this. His, like,
Mm-hmm.
in the game, it's only one guard, and he, like, knocks the gun back and like grabs it and shoots the person. It's like, where is she? And he doesn't say anything. And then he just shoots them again. He's like, I don't have time for this. Where and like
Right.
tells him we got kind of that where. But the guy was more like "fuck you," and he's like, "I don't have
Right.
time for this," and just shot him
Yep.
right in the face. It was like, "Oh my
Right.
god!" Yeah,
Oh, it's brutal. Yeah.
yeah. I think that and like you said, shooting the guy who was surrendering, that was pretty fucked. But
Mm.
like you said, he needed a new gun, so the guy had to
Yeah.
die.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you got? Yeah, I'm just gonna leave you here. Yeah, no. Like, sorry, man,
Right.
you
Right.
gotta die. You could have run away like the other person, but
Yeah.
no. And then, yeah, like you said, shooting the doctor in the head, that was very cold. But
Mm-hmm.
the nurses, they didn't fight. They just turned around, so he let them live. But
Mm-hmm.
I love how closely they adapted the scene from the game with Marlene at the end, where
Yeah.
she's trying to like reason with Joel, and Joel's just like, no, like this is Like,
Mm-hmm.
like you're not telling the truth, and there's no coming back from what I did, to be honest. So like,
Right.
he just had to kill Marlene in that scene, which is sad, but he
Mm-hmm.
had to do it.
But she still plays it so well. Where like, even though I know how all of this ends, I know that Joel has a gun like under Ellie's you know hospital gown. Like I know how this is gonna end. The way Meryl Dandridge like plays this, she's like, it's not too late. Like it's still not too late. Like we can still like figure this out. Maybe find a different doctor and stuff like that. It's like I like still I believe her as like a viewer. I'm like she really means this. She really does just want Ellie to cure this disease. She's like, this is like literally this will save the world. Like please. She's just like pleading with him, and it's like yeah, it's so powerful. And then he's like, no, fuck it. I'm just gonna like drive the hell out of here and have my own life in Jackson.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it too. It reminds me of my favorite scene in the Walking Dead TV show. For those of you who've watched, is when ironically, the hospital police are having a conflict with Rick's group, and Rick runs one of them over, and he's paralyzed on the ground, and he's like begging for his life, and like we can end this, we can go back, and Rick's just like, there's no going back, and just shoots him in the head.
Yeah.
It's a very similar moment to this, and like exact same vibes, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so that TikTok thing was like, what are two clips that give off the same energy? And just like, yeah, Joel and Rick,
Oh, definitely.
kindred spirits in the apocalypse. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that seems so great, and Marlene's like, I won't come after, or like, we can change this, and he's like, no, you're just gonna come after her if like I leave you alive, and
Mm-hmm.
shoots her right in the
Which
head, and
I think that's probably true.
yeah, oh yeah, I'm gonna give up on the cure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then the scene in the cars, just like the video game, and
Mm-hmm.
the the little explanation he gives, like it's very fun to see him like come up with it in a moment, and I think like Ellie can
Yeah.
tell that he's lying like the whole
I think so.
time,
Yeah.
even though she's a little out of it. Where he's just like, oh yeah, raiders came, and
Yeah. It's like, oh,
I
there's
saved
like a
you.
dozen other kids just like you. Oh, and also like raiders came by and like nobody survived except for us. I like when I first like in the game, I was like, all right, that's kind of believable. Like Ellie probably believes him. Watching it in the show, I was like, there's no fucking way she believes this shit. I don't know something about the way it's like spelled out in the show. Yeah, you're right. It seems like he's just kind of like coming up with it in the moment. It's just like, which is funny, but it's also it makes sense for her to kind of want to believe the lie. Like even though she has a feeling it's a lie, she's gonna go along with it because I mean it's also just confusing. But she's found this father figure in him.
Mm. Yeah, but you can see, it still bothers her. We get the last scene
Mm-hmm.
where she's like, I will give you this one chance to tell me the truth, and he still lies to her, and it just
Mm-hmm.
ends just the exact same way the game does, with her just saying,
Yep.
"Okay," and then
Yep.
that's it. And I, dude, when I first played that, I was like, "That's just an awesome way to end this." Like,
So good.
ah, I loved it, and I hope the television viewers also enjoyed that as the ending, where you can put so much into it. Like, what do you? Did she believe it?
Right.
I think you probably get the vibe that she does not, but like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what does that mean for their relationship going forward? And for me, that was I played the first game a few months before the second game came. I think I played it in March, um,
Mm-hmm.
which was a really freaky time during that because it was like
Right.
when the lockdowns were starting, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Ah, oh, this is like my practice for the apocalypse is playing The
Yeah.
Last of Us." But
Right.
then it came out when like June or July
Right.
of
Something like
that
that. Yeah.
that year, um, and like I couldn't imagine having to wait as long as everyone who played it when it first came out waited,
Oh yeah.
because like you want to know what's that next scene, what's the
Oh
next
totally.
conversation they have.
Yeah. Yeah. Because well, that's the other thing is like so I played it in college like back when it came out. So I agree. I thought the ending was like absolutely perfect because it just cuts to black. You get that music that like iconic music, which I was trying to like place it because they have it in an earlier episode actually when Joel and Ellie are like sort of bonding almost for like the first time when they're like riding the horse together. But yeah, that song just like sticks out to me because it was like the cut to black. It's like oh my god, wait, but like what happens next? And then obviously we had to wait all this time for the next game. But yeah, like I said, like I don't feel like when I first played the game, I wasn't totally sure if she believed him or not, or if she yeah. Keep in mind when in the first game we don't actually go to Jackson, so we don't see like where they're going because we only see the what do you call
The
it?
power
The
plant, like
yeah the dam
the
thing.
hydroelectric plant. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was also like a little bit confused about that. Where are they gonna be safe? Like wherever they're going next, or are they just gonna like keep like traveling? And yeah, so like there was like that in my head too. Is like what is next for them? And I'm sure that's what people who haven't played the game and like viewing this for the first time are thinking too. Like, are they actually safe? I mean, Marlene kind of said it. It's like this this world is fucked up and like she's gonna die no matter what. If it's a clicker or like a raider or whatever, it's like you're just buying her more time. And yeah, I mean we'll see the next season like how that actually pans out. But
Yeah, I would
yeah,
expect a huge jump in sales for people who watch this first season and are like, I need to know. I'm gonna play this
yeah,
game. I need to know what happens next.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'd be curious to hear from like someone who like yeah plays second game without having that like stupid amount of like internet chatter that was like going on when that game came out at first. But um, yeah, yeah. I also want to go back because okay, so when they're in the surgical room.
Yeah, so it's kind of this is like the end stuff. So
Hmm.
you have a theory here.
I have a theory. I'm
Yeah.
not even sure if I believe it 100%, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just when I watched the episode for the first time, this is what I heard, and I still kind of hear it when I watch the scene back. Okay, so
Right.
they're in the surgical room. Joel shoots the surgeon, and then you have like this moment where he's like, like unhook her, like I'm gonna take her out of here. He's pointing the guns at the nurses. Played by Laura Bailey, who plays a character in the second game.
Someone. Yeah.
Someone in the second game,
So
yeah,
just played one.
yeah. So um, after he basically like shouts at them, like move, like do it, like get it done now, and it sounds like one of them either says like oh my god or like do it Abigail or like something like Abigail, which this is very slight like spoiler territory I'm not going to go into like detail of who Abigail is in the second game, but I will say it's a character featured in the second game. That's someone's name. Um, so I mean, we can play the audio clip and see if people agree,
Yeah,
if they can hear the same thing.
here it is.
Unhook her. Move!
Oh my god.
All right, so that is it. What do people hear? Comment down below. And there's also I should have pulled this clip. It's fine. We talked about them a little bit. The person who ran away, people have slowed that down and like see that they have their hair in a ponytail and have like a backpack and stuff on. So people are like, was that this character? I don't know. I think that's a stretch, to be honest, but who knows? Maybe next season we'll get this scene from someone else's perspective.
I think we almost certainly will. Yeah, yeah, and then my other like question is like, as we mentioned, Laura Bailey. She's an actress who is featured in the second game. Her character, this nurse, doesn't die. Joel doesn't end up killing her. I would love to see her in the next season, as this character who like witnessed this awful, this whole thing go down. She's like one of the few Fireflies still living from this like massacre, essentially. Yeah, I mean it's kind of hard to go into it without like going to massive spoilers about what the second game is about, but I think they have set it up in a way where like they can actually do a lot with this, in flashbacks or characters, like Laura Bailey's character who like survived, and they can kind of explore, basically like what happens to the Fireflies after something big like this happens. Like they lost their leader essentially.
Yeah, probably like most of their leadership.
Yeah.
At this point, so it'll be very interesting. It does not get any happier in future seasons.
Just a heads
So
up.
enjoy this, the little bit of happiness that you get from this, because that second game is bleak. I don't know if they're gonna adapt it one for one, because it is so bleak. The best way I can describe playing the second game is just like, have you ever been like swimming underwater for a long time and like not been able to like get up for whatever reason, like, or like only being able to get like your breath for very like short? That's what playing the game is. You're like
Wow, yeah.
going, and just like you're not stopping for air, and like you're just trying to like desperately get back up to air, and it just like keeps pushing you along with the current.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect metaphor, actually. Yeah, and I should also mention, I personally actually like the second game more. I think it's like really brilliant, and I think the story that it's telling is really like something just not explored enough in the medium of video games, or really, I mean, even in film and TV. So, from my personal standpoint, I love the first game. I fucking love the second game, and yeah, man, but I think there's really an opportunity for them to change a lot in the second game. Will they? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see, but we will definitely be here to cover it when it does come out. So I think we talked about doing a 10th episode, which will probably be full spoilers. So if you're TV only watcher, thank you so much for checking out this podcast. We really appreciate it, and we'll be back for season 2, 3, whatever they're gonna do for this adaptation. If you are someone who played the video games though, and you want to kind of listen to us talk about the first season and what's going to happen in the future without trying to stop ourselves from spoiling anything, basically. I don't know if we'll record it in a week from now or when we will, but we will be back with a 10th episode. This has been a lot of fun. I'm very proud of us.
Yeah.
We had only one episode that was late, and we like did all the other ones, and we didn't miss an episode, and that's not the easiest thing, Tamur. Let me say, as someone who's recorded a lot of season recap stuff, like it's usually at least 1 week where it's just like doesn't work out for various reasons. So really happy with this. Really happy to add to Better Radio's portfolio, if you will. Um, and yeah, really happy to bring you on as a like podcaster. Usually behind the scenes, so this is fun to
I
have
know.
you like in front of it. So yeah, I've
Yeah.
had a blast doing this.
Thanks. No, yeah, it's been amazing. Like I've like I said, I just love this franchise so much, and I was happy to to explore it and talk about it with you. And you know, like you said, I do a lot of the background, so like thumbnails and like, all that jazz. So it was fun to like actually be in a podcast and like be like, oh, what would be like the best thumbnail according to like what we talked about. And but yeah, super down to like do this for season 2, 3 plus. Um, and yeah, and also, of course, thank you to everyone else for listening and tuning in.
Yeah, we know there's tons of Last of Us podcasts out there, so we do appreciate that you checked ours out.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, on Better Radio, we got tons of podcasts, specifically right now in season, covering Survivor with the Blindsider. Survivor 44 is currently airing, and then we have our Wicked Good Sports channel where we put up videos almost every day, very frequently at the very least. We got like 4 or 5 episodes a week at least on that channel covering various sports topics. And then we have our main channel, which is Wicked Good Everything, where it all started and where I hope to have more, frequent uploads. I have plans some more, right?
Yeah.
But other than
It'll
that,
happen.
anything you want to promote or anything you want people to follow you on, anything like that?
I mean, I'm not too active on social media, but if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at Tamur Kutab, so TamurQutab. But honestly, just follow us on Wicked Good Everything, and because that's mostly what I love to work on.
Yes, so please follow us there. As for me, all the stuff I just said, and then follow me on Twitter at the fake BMAR, that's BMARR. I think I'll probably be talking a lot about the new Resident Evil game. Well, not new Resident Evil game, Resident Evil 4 remake that I just played
Right.
the demo of, and it's sick. It looks so
Yeah,
good.
I
I'm
heard it's
so
like the
excited
best.
to get back into that game because
Yeah.
all-time classic game.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
maybe one day we'll get a good Resident Evil adaptation. Probably not.
I
Um,
don't know, man. Unless you have like a really amazing director behind it. But like, yeah, maybe Craig Mazin if he like
yeah.
gets in on it.
Craig, please save us. Because I obviously love The Last of Us, but like I really love the Resident Evil franchise. So
Yeah.
and to the point where I've seen like all the movies and theaters and like all
Yeah.
that. Though I did not watch the Netflix TV show because I heard that was shit, and I was just like, I'm
Raccoon
not gonna
City.
put myself through
Yeah.
this. I heard basically what I've heard through the grapevine is that like it feels like this was a different show, and at the last minute they were like, "Oh, we own the Resident Evil
Oh
IP.
wow.
Why don't we just put that over it?"
Stupid.
And it's like, okay, that's no thanks. As much as I
Yeah.
love Lance Reddick and everything, like I
Yeah.
couldn't. Sorry, Lance. I'll
Yeah. No,
catch
I
you in
love him too,
Horizon
but
Zero Dawn,
right.
and all that, and Fringe and Lost, but I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
In Quantum Break, he's so good in that.
Yeah, and
That's
Quantum Break.
Game
Like I
Over.
just I
Game's awesome.
can't watch
We
I
should-
can't watch
yeah.
Resident Evil be butchered again.
In the next episode where we talk about spoilers and everything about this show and everything around it, I think we should totally talk about like what else we would love to see adapted because I
Yeah.
think this show really has set a precedent for like video game adaptations. It's like
Yeah.
okay, they can be good because there
We
really
should,
aren't
we should
any
do like what we
good
want
ones.
adapted and what we think people will adapt in a really dark way that they shouldn't. Also,
Right.
like The Sims, but a horror movie or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna be that'll be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kirby, but like fucked up.
Dark, yeah. Dark Kirby. It's like the Batman, but with like
Yeah.
Kirby.
All of them with Pedro Pascal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you in the next one.